The Greek gods and goddesses. Since the ancient Greeks believed in many deities and spirits, the number of Greek gods is incredibly large. Because knowledge of the world was limited in antiquity, natural phenomena were attributed to the higher powers. Gods and goddesses could be found everywhere and define people's lives. In this video, we are going to talk about the generations of deities who ruled the cosmos. However, we are going to highlight the most important and most recognized deities in ancient Greece. This includes the 12 major Olympian gods and the gods and goddesses who are sometimes included in the roster of Olympians. This is the family tree of the Greek gods. In the beginning, there was only chaos. Out of the chaos, the primordial gods emerge. They are the first generations of the gods and goddesses, and they represented the fundamental forces and physical foundations of the world. We have Tartarus, the protogenous of the underworld; Gaia, the protogenous of the earth; Eros, the protogenous of love and attraction; Erebus, the protogenous of the mist of darkness; Nyx, the protogenous of night; Kronos, the protogenous of time; the Niswai, the protogenous of the islands; Aurea, the protogenous of the mountains; Puntus, the protogenous of the sea; Uranus, the protogenous of the sky and the solid dome of heaven; Ether, the protogenous of the mist of light; Hemera, the protogenous of the day; Nemesis, the protogenous of retribution; Hypnos, the protogenous of sleep; Thanatos, the protogenous of death; Ananke, the protogenous of inevitability, compulsion and necessity; Panes, the protogenous of procreation, or the creator god; Thalassa, the protogenous of the sea or sea serpents. Thereafter, Gaia and Uranus had several children. The Titans gods were born. We have Oceanus, representing the sea; Thetis, representing the rivers; Hyperion, representing sun and light; Theia, representing shining light; Koios, representing intellect; Pive, representing prophecy; Kronos, representing harvest; Rhea, representing fertility; Mnemosyne, representing memory; Iapetus, representing mortality; Crios, representing constellations; Themis, representing law and order; Metis, representing advice; Helios, representing the sun; Selene, representing the moon; Eos, representing dawn; Asteria, representing falling stars; Leto, representing motherhood; Lelantos, representing air; Menoetius, representing violent anger; Epimetheus, representing afterthought; Prometheus, representing forethought; Atlas, the sky carrier; Perseus, representing destruction; Astrios, representing astrology; and Phalas, representing the warcraft. Kronos was the leader of the Titans after he managed to overthrow his tyrant father Uranus from the throne. Kronos later learned the prophecy that said his son would eventually overthrow him. Thus, he did everything he could to prevent the prophecy. Kronos devoured all 5 of his newborns. The only one who survived was the 6th and the youngest child, Zeus. Rhea tricked Kronos into eating a rock instead of the baby and left Zeus to the island of Crete. to be raised away from his mad father. Zeus grew older and stronger, and eventually sought to free his siblings, leading to the epic battle between the Titans and the Olympians, who the latter eventually won. From there, they overthrew the previous generations of the Greek gods. The Olympian gods came to rule after that. Hades became the god of the underworld. Hestia became the goddess of home. Demeter is the one who represents agriculture. Zeus became the king and represents thunder. Hera became his queen and represents the childbirth. Poseidon became the god of sea. Athena became the goddess of intelligence. Aphrodite represents beauty. Dionysus became the god of wine and party. Asclepius became the god of medicine. Apollo became the god of music and arts. Artemis became the goddess of hunt. Persephone became the queen of the underworld. Ares became the god of war. Hephaestus represents the fire and smith. Heracles became the god of strength. Hermes became the god of messenger. And Pan represented the nature and wealth. So those are the generation of the gods and goddesses. Now let's talk about the Olympian gods. The Olympian gods had the same inclinations and same desire, the same flaws and strength as the mortals. Even sometimes, they are living in similar conditions. They look like humans, but they were almost always prettier and stronger than humans. The gods could be transformed as they wished or teleported to any place they wished to. Zeus was recognized as the father of gods and humans. He regulated the celestial phenomena and defined the laws that govern people. He held the lightning bolt with one hand and the scepter with the other, which had an eagle at the top. He was known as the Lord of Justice. People respected and feared him at the same time. He was taking care of the families, keeping vigil in the home of every mortal, and protecting strangers and passers-by from evil. Zeus' wife was the goddess Hera, to whom he was not always faithful. Greek mythology is full of love stories about Zeus, who liked to transform himself into anything he could think of just to mingle with other goddesses and mortals. Hera was the Greek goddess of marriage and the queen of Olympus. She was Zeus' wife and sister. Many myths tell of how she sought revenge when Zeus betrayed her with his lovers. Her symbols include peacock and the cow. Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the most beautiful among mortals and immortals. She was born from the foam of the sea when Uranus' blood fell on it after his defeat by Cronos. This fact made her the eldest among the Olympian gods. Her name literally means risen from the foam. Aphrodite was worshipped as the goddess of beauty and passion. She could inspire love in the hearts of men and women. Most myths generally present Aphrodite as a vengeful woman. Aphrodite was worshipped in all parts of Greece, and many priestesses were serving her. According to Greek mythology, she married the god of fire and blacksmiths, Hephaestus. But she was in love with the god of war, Ares, with whom she bared many children, including the winged god of love, Eros. Her symbols include myrtle tree and dove. Apollo is the twin sister of Artemis, son of Zeus and Leto, a Titan goddess. According to tradition, the twins were born on the island of Delos. Apollo is one of the most important and complex Greek gods He is the god of life, music, and poetry, healing and prophecy. Aside from that, he is an archer and hunted with a silver bow. He was the one that established the great oracle of Delphi, which was considered the center of the ancient world. He was the teacher of the 9 muses, and when they sang, he accompanied them with his famous lyre. His symbols are laurel wreath and lyre. Ares, the god of war, was the son of Greek god Zeus and Hera, but neither of his parents liked him. He was always followed by 2 of his faithful sons and followers, the gods Deimos and Phobos. Ares was very handsome and strong, young and well-armed. He loved war and battles, so he was hated by people and his worship was limited. Only in Sparta, he was particularly worshipped and had a statue dedicated to him. He is both cruel and a coward. He was most often characterized as a coward in spite of his connection to war. That is because he responded to even the slightest injury with outrage. His symbols includes a bloody spear and a wild boar. Artemis. Artemis is Apollo's twin sister. She was the goddess of hunting, wild animals, and the wilderness. She spent almost of her time in the woods, accompanied by the nymphs, hunting with her bow and arrows. She was a virgin goddess and a protector of young girls. She was also worshipped as one of the primary goddesses of childbirth and midwifery. She was sometimes associated with the goddess of the moon. Her symbols are Cypress tree, deer, and moon. Athena. According to Greek mythology, Athena was the goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. Athena was the beloved daughter of Zeus. Her mother was the Titaness Metis, the first wife of Zeus. Zeus received a prophecy informing him that Metis would give birth to the child who would overthrow his father. To escape the prophecy, Zeus swallowed Metis while she was pregnant in Athena. Later, Zeus began to suffer from headaches and called Hephaestus to help him. Hephaestus hit the head of Zeus with his hammer and Athena sprang out in full armor. She is always pictured to be armed, never as a child, always a virgin. She won the battle for the patronage of Athens over Poseidon. The Parthenon in Athens is the most famous temple dedicated to her. She was the protector of heroes and the wisest among the gods. Athena was considered one of the most powerful and important Olympian gods. Her symbols are owl and olive tree. Demeter. Demeter was the daughter of Cronos and Rhea. She is the Greek goddess of agriculture and protected the grains and plants and grains. She was the first to make the earth fruitful and taught people how to grow wheat, barley, and other plants. Demeter is somewhat isolated from the 12 gods in ancient myths. And this is because she is an even more ancient goddess. According to Greek mythology, Demeter's daughter is mentioned as Persephone, who was once abducted by the god Hades. The most sacred and secret religious rites of ancient Greece, the Eleusinian mysteries, were held in honor of Demeter. Her symbols are torch and corn plant. Hermes. Hermes was the god of wealth, trade, thieves, and travelers. He was also known as the messenger god, being the herald of the Olympians and carrying messages between them. He was the son of Zeus and Maia, daughter of Titan Atlas. He was a clever, inventive, and arrogant god. As soon as he was born, Hermes saw a turtle. He took her shell, placed 7 strings in it, and invented a lyre. He once stole the oxen guarded by Apollo and locked them in a cave. He wouldn't admit the thief, but in the end, he confessed. To avoid the punishment, he gifted the lyre to Apollo. Hermes wore winged sandals and held the caduceus, his wand which had 2 serpents twined around it. He was the one who accompanied the souls of the dead to Hades, and for that, he was known as the soul bearer. His main symbol is caduceus, a short staff entwined by 2 snakes. Poseidon. Poseidon was one of the 6 children of Cronus and Rhea, and brother of Zeus. He was allotted the kingdom of the sea, but he was also considered the god of horses and earthquakes. This is why he was called the Earth Shaker. He rarely lived on Mount Olympus, preparing the depths of the ocean. He was sitting on his famous chariot, drawn by immortal horses, and holding in his hand the famous trident forged by the Cyclops. When Poseidon was angry, he plunged the trident into the sea and shook it from end to end. The sailors prayed to Poseidon so that he spares them from his wrath. Horse and trident, a 3-pronged pitchfork, are his symbol. Dionysus. Although a demigod, he managed to win the hearts of the gods and his place on Mount Olympus. As a god of wine, viticulture, ritual madness, and religious ecstasy, he was very beloved among the people and was considered a very important god. He was the son of god Zeus and the mortal Semele. He was the patron god of theater and taught people how to make wine. The Athenians, to honor Dionysus, held a famous celebration characteristic of his merriment, and any use of force was prohibited during such holidays. Ivy, the snakes, and grapes are his symbols. Hephaestus. Hephaestus was the god of fire and blacksmiths. He was born ugly, and that is why his mother, the goddess Hera, unable to nourish him, threw him out of Mount Olympus. Since then, he has been limping. Hephaestus fell into the sea, where he was picked up by the Nereids and raised by them. Growing up, he became a famous craftsman and set up his workshop on Mount Etna in Sicily. With his various metals, he made works of art of incomparable beauty. He once made a golden throne and sent it to his mother Hera. As soon as Hera sat down, invisible chains bound her without anyone being able to untie them. They tried to persuade Hephaestus, but they only succeeded after they got him drunk first. Hephaestus was the one who built the brass and gold palaces of Mount Olympus. Anvil and forge are his symbols. Now, here are the other gods and goddesses that are sometimes included in the roster of Olympians. Hades. Hades was a brother of Zeus and Poseidon, and the god of the underworld. He was allotted this kingdom when the 3 brothers took a draw to decide who will take each of the 3 worlds. He liked to live in the dark and shadowed world, and was rarely seen on Mount Olympus. This is why, although he is one of the most important gods, some lists do not include him in the 12 Olympians. The earth is giving us a lot of treasures, and since Hades' kingdom is underneath it, the ancient Greeks believed that he was the one delivering the wealth to them. They actually preferred to call him Pluto because the name Hades was another name for the underworld, and they did not like the idea of death. The entrance to the underworld is guarded by a monstrous dog, Hades' favorite pet, the 3-headed Cerberus. His symbol, the helm of darkness. Hestia. Hestia was the goddess of earth. a fireplace at the center of the home. She was the most gentle of the gods and does not play a role in many myths. Hestia was the sister of Zeus and the oldest of the Olympians. Fire is among her symbols. Eros. Eros was the Greek god of carnal love. In Latin, he is called amor or love, and Cupid, which means desire. Eros was the assistant and son of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and fertility. Eros made people fall in love by shooting an arrow into their heart. Eros himself lost his heart to the breathtakingly beautiful Psyche. Bow and arrows are his symbols. Those are the immortal gods settled on the peak of Mount Olympus. There, they built their divine places, and from there, they look upon the whole world.